Praying for your enemies is often misunderstood. In a world where pride is glorified and revenge is seen as strength, the idea of praying for someone who wronged you sounds like surrender. But in truth, it is the ultimate display of power. Not power over others, but power over self. To look someone in the face or even remember them in silence, someone who lied on you, betrayed you, left you when you needed them the most, and still say, "I hope you find peace," requires a level of strength that few ever tap into. It's a power that doesn't scream, it doesn't boast, it doesn't seek attention, but it transforms everything it touches. When you pray for your enemies, you are not saying that what they did was okay. You're not excusing their behavior, nor are you diminishing the pain they caused. You are simply choosing not to let that pain become your prison. See, revenge is loud and immediate, but healing is quiet and deliberate, and it takes a healed, mature soul to say, "I will not pass on the pain that was handed to me." That kind of strength doesn't come from emotion. It comes from discipline. You don't have to feel like praying for them to actually do it, because love in its truest form is not a feeling. It's a decision. A decision to rise above the petty, to rise above the need to be right, to rise above the need to have the last word. It's a decision to say, "You may have tried to break me, but I won't let your actions define who I am." That's where the real power lies, in not allowing what they did to harden your heart. Because once your heart hardens, you've already lost. You become cold, cynical, always looking over your shoulder, expecting betrayal around every corner, and then, without even realizing it, you've become a mirror of the very thing that hurt you. That's what happens when you let hate settle in. It grows roots. It becomes part of your language, your attitude, your lens. But prayer pulls those roots up. Prayer doesn't just speak to your enemies, it speaks to your soul. It reminds you that you're more than what they did to you. Some people think that praying for your enemies is soft, but softness would be letting them rent space in your head, living there without paying. Real power is when you evict them, not by vengeance but by love. That's the kind of eviction they never saw coming. It disarms them. Because when someone throws dirt at you, they expect dirt back. But when you respond with grace, you confuse the enemy. You flip the narrative. You show that you're governed by something greater than emotion. Now, this doesn't mean you keep toxic people in your life. Praying for someone doesn't mean giving them access. You can love someone from a distance. You can release someone without reconnecting. The prayer isn't for reconciliation, it's for liberation. It's for your peace. Because every time you rehearse that pain, every time you relive the offense, you give them power. And prayer is how you take it back. It takes courage to let go. Not everyone can do it. Some people hold on to bitterness like it's a trophy. They wear their pain like a badge of honor, thinking it makes them strong. But carrying pain is not strength. Healing from it is. And healing starts the moment you say, "I wish you well even though you wounded me." That's when you begin to rise. People will ask, "How could you pray for someone who hurt you that badly?" The answer is simple. Because I refuse to become like them. Because I understand that hurt people, and I won't be the next link in that broken chain. Because I know that sometimes the person who hurt you the most is the one who's hurting the most. And even if they never say sorry, even if they never change, I won't let their brokenness break me. Praying for your enemies is a declaration. I am not a victim of what was done to me. I am the author of how I respond. And I choose peace. I choose freedom. I choose to be better, not bitter. There's a power that comes when you realize that forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. When you forgive and pray for those who wronged you, you're clearing space in your spirit for the blessings meant for you. Because you can't hold on to hate and receive healing at the same time. You have to let go of one to embrace the other. And yes, sometimes the prayer is through clenched teeth. Sometimes you have to pray through the tears, through the flashbacks, through the heaviness. But keep doing it. Because every time you do, the weight gets a little lighter. Your heart becomes a little softer. And your future gets a little clearer. That's the quiet revolution happening inside you. That's the power they'll never see, but they'll feel it. The truth is, some people are watching to see how you'll react. They're expecting you to retaliate, to get even. But when you choose to pray instead, you shift the atmosphere. You break cycles. You set a new standard. Not just for yourself, but for those watching you. You're showing them that power isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. Praying for your enemies isn't easy. But nothing powerful ever is. It's an act of defiance against the darkness. It's saying, "You tried to take my peace, but I won't give it up that easily." It's knowing that vengeance might satisfy you for a moment, but peace will sustain you for a lifetime. And peace comes when you release what you can't control and hand it over to something greater. This is not weakness. This is warfare. Silent warfare. The kind where you don't need weapons. Your prayer is enough. Your love is enough. Your discipline is enough. You don't need revenge to prove your worth. Your peace is proof that they didn't win. That's what real power looks like. Quiet, steady, unshaken, anchored in something deeper, something sacred. The pain we experience in life is rarely welcomed, yet often it becomes the very foundation of our growth. The betrayal, the rejection, the rumors, the isolation. These things hurt, no doubt. But what if they were never meant to destroy you? What if they were allowed in your life to build something deeper in you that could not have been formed any other way? It's easy to pray for those who support you, those who encourage you, those who clap when you win. But praying for your enemies? That requires a different level of maturity, discipline, and spiritual strength. It requires the ability to see purpose in pain and strategy in suffering. The very people who tried to break you only helped shape your purpose. Think about that. They didn't know it at the time, but they were actually helping you become exactly who you were meant to be. When someone lies about you, betrays you, or tears you down, they are unknowingly acting as chisels in the hand of something greater. You don't have to retaliate. You don't have to prove anything, you just have to grow through it. Every attack is an opportunity. Every insult, a catalyst. Every setback is a setup. It's in those moments of pain that you're being refined, developed, and elevated to a place you wouldn't have reached without the fire. This is the kind of growth that doesn't happen in comfort. It doesn't come from applause. It comes from adversity. The people who opposed you were actually the ones who pushed you. That job you lost. It forced you to chase your dream. That friend who turned on you. They exposed the loyalty you had and the strength you forgot you carried. That relationship that broke your heart, it taught you boundaries, wisdom, and self-respect. You didn't just survive the pain, they sharpened your edge. They unknowingly polished the diamond inside you. Your enemies are often more honest about your potential than your friends. Think about it. They saw something in you, something that made them uncomfortable, something that triggered insecurity or jealousy or fear. They saw your light before you did. And sometimes the attack wasn't even about what you had, it was about what you were about to walk into. That's why it came out of nowhere. That's why it was so intense. It wasn't just about your present, it was about your future. You're not praying for your enemies because they deserve it. You're doing it because you deserve peace. You're doing it because you refuse to let bitterness chain you to what they did. You're not staying in that place. You've got places to go, people to impact, and levels to reach. And you can't carry hate with you. You can't walk forward while staring backward. So you pray. Not to excuse their behavior, but to free yourself from it. To release it from your spirit. To make room for what's coming. Growth hurts. That's why not everyone does it. But you're choosing to evolve. To take what was meant to harm you and use it to heal others. To allow that experience to fuel your fire instead of extinguish your hope. The truth is, your enemies did you a favor. They taught you resilience. They introduced you to your own strength. They forced you into self-discovery. That level of transformation doesn't come through ease. It comes through pressure. And in that pressure, you found yourself. You found your voice, your identity, your worth, your calling. You realized you were stronger than you thought, wiser than you gave yourself credit for, and more determined than they ever imagined. You became fireproof in a furnace they thought would consume you. But instead of burning, you became brighter. Instead of breaking, you became bolder. You owe them nothing, but you can thank them silently. Because in trying to bury you, they actually planted you. And when the season was right, you grew. The dirt they threw wasn't your end. It was your beginning. You didn't just survive. You sprouted. You came out with deeper roots and stronger branches. You bore fruit in a place they swore would stay barren. So now when you say, I pray for my enemies, you're not just speaking words. You're speaking from experience, from having been through storms that should have drowned you, from walking through fire that should have consumed you, from facing hate that should have hardened you, but instead, it made you tender. It made you gracious. It made you powerful. And the real twist? They thought they were hurting you, but they were just helping to write your story. They were chapters in a book that's still being written. Characters in a plotline they'll never control. They played their part. But you turned the page. You're still here. Still standing. Still fighting, and stronger for it. When faced with adversity, especially from those who actively work against us, The typical human response is often rooted in anger, bitterness, or the desire for revenge. These emotional reactions are natural, but they are not always productive. The idea of praying for one's enemies is not just a spiritual suggestion. It is a profound mental and emotional discipline that shifts the narrative from victimhood to empowerment. It turns the tables, not by engaging in battle, but by transforming the battlefield itself. When you choose to respond to opposition, not with retaliation, but with compassion and strength, you take control of your own narrative and your own peace. In life, it is inevitable that not everyone will support you. Some people will actively try to harm you, whether through words, actions, or sabotage. These individuals, often called enemies, can consume your thoughts and energy if you allow them to. You begin to replay conversations, question your worth, or strategize how to fight back. But what if instead of feeding those cycles of stress and hostility, you stepped back and made a radical choice? What if you chose to pray for them, or if prayer is not your practice, to wish them well, to release your attachment to their negativity? This is not about being passive or weak. It's about transcending the level on which conflict operates. When you pray for your enemies, you are no longer bound by their actions. You are making a conscious decision not to let their hatred dictate your peace. You are saying, "You may have chosen darkness, but I will not let that darkness seep into me." That decision becomes a source of power. It's not just moral superiority, it's psychological liberation. You are no longer a puppet controlled by someone else's bitterness. You have taken your power back. You are choosing clarity over confusion, grace over grudge, and growth over grievance. There is something deeply powerful about the internal shift that occurs when you no longer need your enemies to fail in order to feel victorious. You begin to realize that their behavior is a reflection of their inner struggles, not a measure of your worth. When you can see them not as obstacles to be crushed, but as people acting from their own pain or limitations, your perspective changes. It doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does explain it. And understanding has a way of softening even the hardest edges of resentment. This mindset is not about letting people walk all over you or ignoring injustice. It's about recognizing the difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is emotional, impulsive, and often destructive. Response, on the other hand, is intentional, thoughtful, and rooted in strength. When you respond to your enemies with a heart that is intact and a mind that is clear, you gain the upper hand, not over them, but over the situation. You remain in control. That is true power. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and change-makers in history often endured extreme opposition. Many were misunderstood, maligned, or even hated. But what set them apart was not just their talent or intellect, it was their emotional discipline. They didn't allow hatred to turn them into someone they were not. They remained rooted in purpose. They used the resistance they faced as fuel, not as an excuse to become bitter. This is the model we can follow, using adversity to grow, to rise, to become more rather than less. It takes incredible strength to be kind in the face of cruelty, to be gracious when you are attacked, and to be centered when others are trying to throw you off balance. But this strength is what sets extraordinary people apart from the ordinary. Anyone can retaliate. Anyone can throw back what was thrown at them. But it takes discipline to transform pain into peace. It takes character to answer hate with purpose. This transformation also impacts your mental health and overall well-being. Harboring resentment poisons the mind and body. Stress, anxiety, and chronic anger drain you of energy and clarity. But when you release those emotions by praying for your enemies, by letting go of the need to control or punish them, you free up space within yourself. You make room for creativity, focus, and inner calm. You clear the emotional clutter that keeps you stuck in cycles of conflict and reactivity. Your life's mission is too important to get derailed by distractions disguised as enemies. When you engage with every critic, when you respond to every slight, you dilute your energy and lose focus on what truly matters. But when you choose to rise above, not with arrogance but with clarity, you can serve your energy for the battles that truly matter. You begin to move with purpose, not with pettiness. And that's how real momentum is built. The ability to pray for those who have wronged you is a sign of maturity, not weakness. It shows that you understand that their actions don't define you, and that you have the emotional intelligence to detach from toxic cycles. You're no longer trying to win a fight. You're trying to win your freedom. And that kind of freedom can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It has to be earned through conscious choice and courageous inner work. You don't need your enemies to become your friends. You don't need them to apologize. You don't even need them to understand you. All you need is the discipline to choose peace over pettiness and purpose over pain. You don't do it for them, you do it for you. Because your future is too important to be held hostage by your past, and your energy is too sacred to waste on battles that don't build you. The act of praying for your enemies, or extending compassion to them, becomes a mirror for your own strength. It reflects who you are becoming, not who they are. You are not reacting to the past, you are creating a future, and every time you choose this higher path, you reinforce your identity as someone who is unshakable, undeterred, and unstoppable. This is what it means to transform adversity into empowerment, not by denying the pain, but by redefining your response to it, not by pretending you weren't hurt, but by refusing to let that hurt shape your destiny. You become the architect of your inner world, even when the outer world is filled with resistance. You reclaim your story, your power, and your peace, all by making a choice that few are willing to make. Adversity is something that everyone faces, though its form and intensity can vary. For many, it appears as challenges at work, broken relationships, financial struggles, or health issues. The powerful idea that one can transform pain into purpose offers a way to navigate these difficult times. Rather than allowing setbacks to defeat you or consume your energy, you can choose to use them as stepping stones for personal growth, strength, and transformation. This concept is a reminder that what may initially seem like a setback can actually be an opportunity for progress, provided we change our perspective on how we approach adversity. At the heart of this idea is the notion that we have control over how we respond to the struggles we face. It is easy to become overwhelmed by life's difficulties, especially when they come unexpectedly or feel too big to handle. But when we shift our mindset from a victim mentality to one of empowerment, everything changes. Pain and hardship are inevitable, but our reaction to them is not. The way we perceive pain is what determines whether it becomes a barrier or a catalyst. For example, facing failure might feel devastating in the moment, but when we ask ourselves what we can learn from it or how it can shape us into better versions of ourselves, we give the experience a new meaning. Turning pain into purpose requires a conscious effort to reflect and reframe. Often people get stuck in a cycle of self-pity or frustration when life doesn't go according to plan. However, it is precisely during these times that we have the greatest potential to grow. The pain we feel serves as a tool, nudging us to examine our beliefs, priorities, and behaviors. It can drive us to break free from old patterns that no longer serve us and explore new paths of personal evolution. For example, the pain of losing a job might spark a desire to pursue a different career path or deepen one's skills. Similarly, the end of a relationship might prompt a period of self-reflection that results in greater self-awareness and a deeper understanding of what we truly value in relationships. The key to transforming pain into purpose lies in finding the lesson within the hardship. This doesn't mean that challenges should be ignored or minimized, but rather that they should be seen as opportunities to learn, grow, and evolve. There is a unique strength that emerges when we choose to face adversity head-on and extract the lessons it offers. This process can be uncomfortable, as it may require us to confront painful truths about ourselves or our circumstances. Yet, it is through this discomfort that we build resilience and character. Each obstacle becomes a teacher, helping us uncover hidden strengths, refine our goals, and ultimately become more adaptable in the face of future challenges. Transforming pain into purpose also involves shifting our focus from the external circumstances to our internal response. Often, people believe that they are at the mercy of the world around them, that their happiness and success depend on factors outside of their control. But when we recognize that our internal state is what truly matters, we begin to regain our sense of power. External events can be distressing or even tragic, but how we choose to react to them is within our grasp. It is this inner strength, rooted in self-awareness and emotional intelligence, that enables us to turn even the most painful experiences into meaningful opportunities for growth. The concept of using pain as a vehicle for purpose also relates to the idea of resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from difficulties and challenges. It is an essential quality for anyone who wishes to achieve success and live a fulfilling life. Life by its nature is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable. However, the more resilient we become, the less power these setbacks hold over us. Instead of being knocked down by each challenge, we learn how to rise stronger, wiser, and more determined. Pain, in this sense, is not a punishment, is not a It is a shaping force that molds us into individuals who are capable of handling whatever comes our way. This ability to turn pain into purpose also helps to eliminate the fear of failure. Often, people avoid pursuing their goals or dreams because they fear failure or rejection. However, when we embrace the idea that every failure carries with it a lesson, we can let go of this fear. Failures become part of the journey, not a definitive endpoint. Instead of seeing setbacks as proof of inadequacy, we begin to view them as necessary milestones that shape our growth and bring us closer to achieving our ultimate goals. Every challenge faced and every pain endured becomes a valuable asset in the pursuit of success. Moreover, the process of turning pain into purpose encourages a sense of gratitude. It can be hard to feel thankful in the midst of struggle, but when we learn to see the silver lining, we unlock a powerful tool for emotional well-being. Gratitude shifts our mindset from focusing on what we lack to appreciating what we have. Even in the toughest of times, a sense of gratitude can help us navigate pain with a sense of peace and acceptance, allowing us to stay grounded while pursuing our goals. In addition, transforming pain into purpose is not something that happens overnight. It is a process that requires patience, introspection, and a willingness to change. It might involve revisiting past experiences, seeking wisdom from mentors, or practicing mindfulness to better understand our emotions. This process is not about denying pain or pretending that everything is okay when it's not. Instead, it's about acknowledging the pain and consciously deciding how we want to engage with it. It's about taking ownership of our emotional landscape and choosing to use difficult experiences as building blocks for a stronger, more purposeful life. Finally, transforming pain into purpose allows us to inspire others. When people witness our ability to rise above adversity and use our struggles as a source of strength, they are often motivated to do the same in their own lives. Our personal transformation becomes a powerful example of what is possible when we choose to turn pain into purpose. This not only enhances our own lives, but also creates a ripple effect that encourages others to adopt a similar mindset. We begin to see that our struggles, while deeply personal, can have a far-reaching impact on the people around us. In essence, the ability to turn pain into purpose is a reminder that challenges do not define us, but how we respond to them does. Life will present difficulties, but by choosing to use those experiences to fuel our growth, we turn every hardship into an opportunity for transformation. The strength gained through overcoming adversity becomes a foundation upon which we can build a life that is not only successful but also rich in meaning, resilience, and purpose.